Peace, peace. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to He Got Credit. I'm your host, Brother Najee, and today we're going to talk about owning a home versus renting a home or an apartment, whatever you have. Maybe you have a condo, maybe you have a townhouse or something, right? So we're going to dive into it and we're going to get down to the nitty gritty, right? The misconceptions, and we're going to go into details. So, whenever you are renting, right? And people will say, well, when you rent, you're throwing away money. You're giving money away to somebody for something that you'll never own. You'll never be able to pass it down to your children. You'll never be able to, become wealthy off of it, et cetera, right? That's what people say about renting. Now, whenever you rent, understand that there's people out there that like to rent. All right, they're not falling in love with the idea of buying a home and mortgaging it for 20 or 30 years or 15 years or whatever the case might be. And they understand that they don't want to have to just be stuck in one place because they have this mortgage, right? And when you rent, you have more flexibility. You have less maintenance cost. You have more amenities in most cases, right? And when I say that you have more flexibility, meaning that if you live in an apartment, townhouse, or a condo, or even a penthouse, if you have that, you can say, well, you know what? I want to break the lease and the term of the agreement and pay a little extra fee. So because I want to move to California, or I want to move to Florida, or I want to move to New York, or I want to move to Idaho, or whatever, wherever you want to go, you have more flexibility when you rent. Not only just that, but you have a tendency of also having, in most cases, more amenities. The apartment might come with a gym, a basketball court, a swimming pool, a volleyball center court, a playground for your children. What else? You have a maintenance crew. If something breaks or something goes wrong with the apartment, you can easily call them up and put a work order in, and they'll come out there and fix it. I don't think they charge you for that. I'm not sure exactly. And sometimes they might, sometimes they won't. It just depends. And then another thing is you don't have that much utilities either. You don't pay that much utilities. You might pay for trash. You might pay for sewage. You might have a electric bill, maybe. So you don't have all the utilities that you have when it comes to getting a home. You have less utilities. You have more flexibility. You have more amenities in most cases, and you have the ability to have a maintenance crew that work Monday through Friday, and if not, sometimes even on the weekends, to assist you with things that break, leak, crack, whatever in that apartment, condo, penthouse, or townhouse, or whatever you're currently renting or leasing, right? So those are the pros. The cons of it is, okay, yeah, you won't ever own the apartment, okay? You can't pass the apartment down to your children unless you say, well, son or daughter, I've been renting this place for 20 years now, and you're 18, I'm going to move out and you can stay in it, right? That's the only thing you could possibly do, you know what I'm saying? But keep in mind, it won't ever be able to go in their name necessarily as far as ownership. They won't ever own it. You know, you can move out of it and move into another apartment next to them, and they can move into the one you're in, and y'all can be closer, but you won't ever really pass it down to them. Now, you could buy a condo, obviously, yeah, you could buy a condo. You could pass a condo down to your child. You could buy a penthouse and pass that down. Even a townhome, but in most cases, townhomes are usually rented, for a very long period of time from an investor that bought the property and, renovated it, and now he's leasing it and renting it out to his tenants. Now, those are the pros and the cons when it comes to renting. Now, let's dive into the home ownership aspect of it, right? Excuse me. Whenever you go apply and you get approved for a mortgage loan, right? Keep in mind, it's a loan. It's a loan. It's something that you have to pay on monthly. and you don't own it entirely until you pay it off and you have the title or the deed in your hand that says Najee Shi Amru Ali owns this property, right? And even in most cases, you still don't technically own it because you have to pay property taxes every year on that property. Now, when you don't pay property taxes on that property, you will get a visit from the sheriff to say you have to leave and evacuate the property or the premises within 30 days, or else, we will come and, escort you out ourselves. All right. So in most cases in America, people pay taxes on their property, whether it be land, vehicle, house, etc. They're going to pay properties at the end of the year or whenever they're making their purchase. They're going to pay property taxes every year, right? So you can pay a house off in cash and get the title and the deed, but you still have to pay the property taxes. And if you don't pay the property taxes, you can lose the property. You can lose the property to the county that you live in or the state that you live in, and somebody could just easily take over the property just by looking it up online, seeing what properties in their area have defaulted on their taxes, and all they have to do is just pay the taxes. You have a certain period of time to catch it. And before they say, well, we weren't able to contact the owner, so for you to pay the taxes, so they won't buy it. You see what I'm saying? So you have a period of time before that happens. Now, with that being said, you don't have all the amenities when you have a house as you do an apartment, right? Now, and if you do have those types of amenities, such as a pool, a gym, let's say you somehow you have a maintenance crew. If you have that, which I doubt, you don't have that much money. And if you do, they're called OHA fees, which you'll pay an OHA fee either every month or every year, depending on how the contract is set up within your community. Okay, so you will pay extra for ththose amenities and that accommodate you and your family and friends and stuff like that. In most cases, they'll have like a gazebo, a gym, a pool, a basketball court, a park, stuff like that for your children and your family and friends to play with and to have and enjoy. So you'll have OHA fees plus your utilities. You won't own it outright unless you pay cash. And then even if you do pay cash, you still have to pay taxes on it. And then the maintenance and repairs, those are all out of pocket expenses. I don't know any communities that have a maintenance crew that's just like on call for that community. I don't know of any unless it's an apartment. So yeah, you'd have to come out of pocket for OHA fees for the amenities. You're coming out of pocket for utilities, obviously. And you're not going to own it unless you pay cash. And even if you do pay cash, you still have to pay taxes on the property. If not, you will hear from the sheriff in your county, and he will come get you, and he'll tell you to evacuate the premises unless you pay the taxes on the property. Okay. And then, like I said, you'll have a set rate for your mortgage. It will be the interest rate, whether it be a 3%, 2%, 5%, whatever the case might be. That'll be locked in. You'll have a 30-year mortgage, which you'll have to pay for 30 years on top of interest on top of that as well. And then also you will have to deal with future repairs, such as a roof, such as your gutter system, such as the lawn, the grass. All these things factor in whenever you have a property. All these things will factor in whenever you have a property. And so take that into consideration whenever you're purchasing a home versus your renting state right now. Not only when you have a home too, you can't just up and leave the property. You can't just up and leave it. And if you do miss a monthly payment on it, a couple of months, they will foreclose it and the bank will take it. They will evacuate you and your family or whoever you live with, kick you out with an eviction notice. Then they'll seize the property and they will sell it to the next person, or they'll keep it and they'll rent it or sell it to somebody else, another investor. Those are the cons of it, right? Now, the pros of having a property, right? Whenever you get a mortgage on a property, you have to live in it for about a year give or take, right? Depending on what you're doing with it. If you want to rent it out to somebody, let's say you move in today. And today is what, November 7th. You move into the property today, right? So you have 1 year to live in it before you can start renting it out to somebody else, a tenant, right? You have 1 year to live in it as your permanent residency before you can start renting it out to another tenant so that you can start collecting payments or profit on the property, okay? That's one thing. Number two, you can use your property as an Airbnb, okay? You can move in. Let's say you get the property November 7th. You got it. You didn't tell the mortgage lender it was for an investment, or the private seller was in for investment or whatever, right? Now, I'm not saying to do this. I'm just saying it's an option. You can get the property. You can Airbnb it. You can treat your home as a hotel if you want to, and make money from it every day. Okay, people do it all the time. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Airbnb. That's another way you can make money from it, right? That's another pro. Renting it out to a tenant, single, one family. Every month you collect residual income or passive income. 2, you can Airbnb it. Then 3, you could buy and hold, right? You can buy the property. You can keep it. Might be in pristine condition. Great, nothing wrong with it. You can buy it. Wait till the market gets up in value. You can flip it. You can sell it. Collect the profit from it, then move into another home, buy and hold, sell it, do the same thing all over again, right? Just reap the profits of it and keep it moving. And then 4, you can get the home, right? And in this market right now, prices for homes are going up in value. So, for example, you could buy a home for $200,000, depending on where you live at, and you can live in it, and then you can look up what the value. You can get the value of it. You can see, hey, what's the value of my home? It might say, oh, it went up 30,000, went up 40,000, 50,000, whatever. You can then pull the equity out of it, right? You can pull the equity out of the home and use that money for other things. You might want to repair your home, might want to repair the roof, you might want to add something to the home to increase the value of it. You might want to use that money to make an investment into a business, or buy a new car, or go on vacation, or pay off debts, or whatever, put your children through college, whatever you decide to do with the equity of it, right? There's that option as well. And then you have the folks who just want to live in the home for 30 years and pass it on to their children. Pass it on to their children. They want to make sure that their children have a home to live in. They don't have to worry about a mortgage. They don't have to worry about finding an apartment. The only thing they have to worry about is the taxes, right? And that's once a year. All they gotta do is worry about the taxes and live mortgage and rent free. That's the other option, right? So just keep all these things in mind, okay? There's nothing wrong with renting if you have to do that right now up until you level up, until you want to get into that home that you want to get. There's nothing wrong with getting a mortgage on a home if that's what you want to do either. I'm just here to give you guys the information and the education to let y'all know that it depends on where you're at in life. And it depends on the individual and what their mindset is as far as home ownership versus renting X amount of years, because they don't want to deal with the headaches of owning a home or going through the process of a home, or the flexibility of getting a home, right? So these are all things to factor in and to think about whenever you do decide to get a home. Like, do you really want to live in a home for 30 years for the rest of your life? You buy a home when you're 30, you want to live in it until you're 60? Or do you want to say, hey man, it's cool. I lived in a home for 1 year. It wasn't what I thought it was. So now I got to sell it. And then I want to get an apartment now. I want to get a condo. I want to get a townhouse or a penthouse now that I've seen, in downtown Miami or whatever the case might be. You have more flexibility when you're renting. You don't have as much flexibility when you have a home ownership, okay? There's always pros and cons that weigh into these factors of where you want to live at and what's covering your head when you go to sleep at night. Keep in mind, you're always going to have to pay to lay your head at anywhere you go. Whether it's a hotel, whether it's your friend's house, whether it's your own home, whether it's an apartment, condo, townhouse, penthouse, whatever, you have to pay to live wherever you lay your head at. In some way, shape, or form, you have to pay. Okay? So, I hope this video gives you guys good insight I hope you learned something that not everything is what home ownership is hyped up to be. Not everything is hyped up to what renting is to be. Some people like renting. Some people want to move into a house. Some people like condos, penthouses, townhouses, apartments, and some people just want to be in a home where they don't have to deal with that other stuff. So it all depends on what you like, what you want, what you need, and what's best for you and your family. Okay. Um, Follow me on Instagram at HeGotJs23. Hit me up on Snapchat at He Got Credit. Follow me on Twitter at He Got Credit. And if you need authorized user trade lines, or if you need help with getting primary trade lines, contact me at 405-441-3276. Again, that's 405-441-3276. Y'all enjoy y'all's day. I'm out. Peace.